Hello everyone, this is Will.
And this is Alex.
And welcome back to another episode of They Mostly Come Out at Night.
Oh, baby. Mostly.
Yes, they do.
They came out.
This movie, like TNT Jackson, is dynamite.
Well, it's very convenient you say that.
Straight dynamite.
Because Dynamite is in the title.
It is. And it's also directed by one of our reoccurring directors.
Our friend
Al Adamson.
Who made Brain of Blood, which we enjoyed, ironically. He also did Angels, Wild Women, which we also enjoyed.
Ironically, too, because
Ironically and unironically.
Some of it was pretty amazing.
Some of it was...
Especially the end scene.
Yes, amazingly stupid. Then, now we have Dynamite Brothers.
Before Rush Hour, there was Dynamite Brothers.
So one of the DVD covers for this movie says, before Rush Hour, there was Dynamite Brothers. Now, why does it say that?
Because here's the plot. It's about two guys, a Chinese man and a black man.
Who have to team up.
To take down a big boss guy.
So they're not cops in this one.
No.
They're both, criminals. Now, before we get into it, I just want to say that I loved this nonsense.
I actually really enjoyed it, too.
I don't know if my standards are just so warped.
I think there are no standards anymore, so, even the shittiest films, can get past us. They just have to be slightly better than the movies we've watched before.
Because this is our third in a row that is, a mix of blaxploitation and kung fu movies.
I would argue this one gets it the most right, though.
Here's what's funny. This is the lowest rated out of the three.
How?
I don't know.
How is that even possible?
I have no idea, but, it gets those things better than the other two. It gets me. This movie understands me.
It has everything you want in a bad kung fu movie.
It does.
It really does.
And I don't know. It's funny because, we've seen the other Al Adamson movies, and we've seen the action scenes in those movies, and they are just...
They're fucking horrible.
Horrible, hilarious nonsense. And then you get to this, and somehow it's better than the other two.
Dude, it's a breath of fresh air compared to the other two.
Yeah.
I would say this is probably the best Al Adamson movie we've watched so far.
Yes.
I don't know if we get any more, but...
There will be more of his movies. But I'm just I wonder... I don't know. I'm a little stunned.
Maybe he learned from his mistakes. Maybe he was like, you know what? I'll direct slightly more... I'll direct more entertaining fight scenes. How's that?
It's possible.
I don't know, man.
Experience. I don't know.
Maybe. Well, alright, you want to start breaking it down?
Yeah.
Alright, let's break this shit down.
Let's break it down right to the bone.
Then we get a groovy intro with the same three pictures shown, in different color.
In different angles.
I was getting annoyed about how little of the, stock pictures they took.
There were three.
It was, them two together.
Well, no,
No, it was superimposed on each other. So
it was two separate pictures, but they superimposed them. The Dynamite Brothers. They superimposed them, and then there's one of the black guy, leaning over that they reused over and over. One time they just flipped it. They just flipped it around in case, And
then, would, put one on its side and stuff, and,
put one,
angles.
Coming out of the other. Just, that's...
It's funny you mentioned coming out.
Look, this is a very progressive film, okay?
It just...
Because we know what's going to happen in the ending. Because, see, now both of them are single. And they teased us.
I'm just saying, it gives off a lot of, homoerotic symbols. Not that I have anything wrong with that, but it's just hilarious to watch in a 70s film because they didn't do that a lot.
No.
I mean, they of course, never get together because of the 70s film, and that's a little too radical.
That and, like, it's even better because it just seems like they just accidentally made it homoerotic.
It was weird.
And that's the best.
And by the end, I was shipping them. I wanted them to be together. And I was
there's so many moments.
They're cute together.
Well, there's so many moments in the beginning when I'm just like, what are you doing?
Alex, they complete each other.
They do.
They look at each other longingly. I wish someone would look at me the way that they looked at each other in this movie.
Well,
I really do. Like,
and they do it right away.
I know.
They just meet up and immediately are like looking at each other in this.
I'm surprised they didn't have like a pink like tone around it with like little hearts floating up.
It's like one of those Instagram filters. With, like, the fucking hearts and the heart sunglasses.
But we'll get to that, of course. So, after the groovy intro, we get, like, a training, it's a training facility, but a castle as well. Yeah. This is, like, the big bad boss's, like, main headquarters.
Yeah.
He's a huge, like, drug runner.
He's running drugs to the ghetto.
He's a drug boss, yeah, and he wants to fill the ghetto with heroin. Or illicit
If you've
drugs.
ever seen Black Dynamite.
I guarantee they had to have gotten at least some ideas from this movie.
Which is hilarious.
Because there's so many scenes that I was like, that's in Black Dynamite.
Because, yeah, there's the whole flooding the ghetto with drugs and...
Well, there's also the, like, thing where the guy theorizes, breaks down what's like actually going on.
Here's what we know. Yeah.
Here's what we know. Now I think I hypothesize that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as ridiculous.
Which is funny because like this is really like unknown. So if they watched this, Black Dynamite is an amazing movie, by the way. But if they watched this and got some of their inspirations for Black Dynamite, it's just perfect.
I was really sad that they didn't have a scene where he's like, "Do you want to live?" I said, "Do you want to?"
They just find one of them like hooked on drugs or some shit.
Yeah, dude. Like, I want to find the inspiration for that scene. Sorry, we're getting off on Black Dynamite. Sorry, I just love that film. So, so they're talking about like this huge deal going down. And how they don't want the cops involved, but they have a dirty cop that works with them. And so they send the dirty cop to watch over this big drug deal going on.
Yeah.
So that they can make sure nothing goes wrong.
And at the same time, a guy is coming in from Hong Kong.
He's smuggling his way into California from Hong Kong. And
they tell... Did they tell the cop to make sure he doesn't, like, go too far?
So, I know...
They tell someone to, like, go and make sure that this guy doesn't get too far. Oh, no. I don't remember who they tell, but basically... Because the cop is there watching him.
Because I thought it was the cop was watching, like, the drug deal going on. Was he watching the guy on the boat?
Yeah, remember? He was looking at through the binoculars.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So he goes and tells the cop... to go and watch to make sure this guy, like, is stopped. And there's just this boat pulling into San Francisco. And this guy is, like, sneaking off of it. And there is, the cop is watching with binoculars.
He finally gets off the boat.
And the cop sends these 3 goons.
Yeah.
To go after him.
Well, and they're like, what are you doing here? And the guy's like, walking around, like, yeah. Like,
oh, no.
It's like, where are you? Like, go back to China.
Because they're trying to get him to go back to China, but it's just funny because he just runs into them. And the guy's like, the first thing he says, go back to China.
Yeah.
And then another guy's like, yeah, go back.
Then they, like, so the guy runs off, and then they meet him, they, like, corner him again.
And we get our first fight scene.
And it's, like, it blew my mind. Okay, so I think our audience has to understand. If you haven't listened to our Angels, Wild Women, or our Brain of Blood,
or the last 2 podcasts, you know we've been on a stint of really terrible fight scenes. Yes.
I'm not saying these fight scenes are like top tier.
Even in movies that we enjoyed, like Wonder Women, the fight scenes were
still
awful.
lame. Yeah. So it blew my mind that not only are these pretty decently competent fight scenes, but they're directed by Al Adamson, who did Angels, Wild Women, and those have some of the worst action scenes I've ever seen.
And it's not just that, but they're directed well enough that, like, there's an energy to it.
And it's
fast paced.
I don't know. I found, like, it was weird because from that very first fight scene, I found myself enjoying the fight scenes.
Well, because, it's enjoyable, and it's filmed with, like, energy.
And thank God it was filmed where the punches are not seen by the camera.
So it actually looks
like they're punching the people.
Well, they look like they're punching the people, and it's like it's quick.
And it doesn't look like.
Oh,
you know, another thing that I loved that
no sped up footage.
But the most beautiful thing on the planet, it actually kind of looked like martial arts.
Well, not just that, but like it
looks like a fight scene.
It looks real. But again, it's also helps that it's filmed like energetically, so it's just like constant like action.
Well, I'm just going off of the action scenes, the fucking action scenes we saw in TNT Jackson and Bamboo Gods and Iron Men. Those are like lazy.
Well, they weren't just lazy. Like looking back at those, they were filmed so like boring.
Yeah.
It's just people just awkwardly like waving their hands at each other with like no just flat, just no style, nothing.
And I was decently surprised this had actually flair.
We get to this scene and we were just expecting the worst because we've seen these other movies.
And we got something decent.
And then it happened and I was like, holy shit. I did not want to kill myself.
So then we get a scene of him just walking around and looking for his brother. And he gets to his cousin's house. And his cousin kind of doesn't recognize him at first, and then
he keeps telling him to leave.
So yeah, and then Larry like kind of forces his way in, and is like, listen, like, I'm looking for my brother. Have you seen him?
And eventually the cousin tells him that his brother is in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. And then the cousin gets a call
after the main guy leaves.
Right. Oh, and I should mention at this point, they keep mentioning a guy named Mr. Smiley. Or is it Mr. Smiles?
That's later.
Okay, they haven't mentioned him yet.
The only reason you know this is because they listed him in the opening credits.
Oh, okay.
But you meet him later.
So, they kind of catch wind that the cousin has tattled.
Well, he keeps telling him, like, no, I made him leave.
Yeah.
Like, all this other stuff. And they tell him to leave and tell him to go someplace, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets dressed.
Gets in his car.
And it explodes.
Yep.
Quick.
So then we get a scene of
the
Stag?
Stud,
and he's getting taken away by two policemen.
And they're both being, like, raging assholes to him.
Calling him the N-word, just typical blaxploitation stuff. But they actually got it right in this one, which was fucking decent.
They get it right because it's not... I don't know how to explain it. It feels more sincere.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way I can explain it. In some of these other movies, it just feels like they saw it in other blaxploitation movies, and so they're trying to, like, copy it.
I feel like this, like, for whatever fucking reason, Al Adamson actually understood.
Yeah.
Like...
Or whoever wrote the script.
Whoever wrote the script understood what blaxploitation actually was.
What the appeal was.
What the appeal was and, like, what it was all about.
Yeah.
Because it actually kind of gets it right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the best blaxploitation film I've ever seen, but, we can't all be sweet, sweet back. It's a badass song, okay? We can't all be that film. So...
No comment.
Okay, so the policemen they stop for.
He's saying there's like a drug deal he has to look at.
Yeah, so they go and like they get a report of a drug deal going on.
Yeah, so they all leave, but
the two cops leave the car.
Black guy's in the car, and as they walk away, he disconnects the walkie-talkie.
Yeah, the radio scanner.
And takes the car keys.
Mm-hmm. And then, so the cops come back, and
he's like, well, there wasn't a drug deal, but we found this guy who's here illegally.
And then
it's like, call immigration on him.
So the cop opens the door, and the black guy gets up and, like, rushes one of the cops. And they catch him, and they cuff Stud.
Stud. Stag was from Bamboo Gods and Iron Men, I think.
No, was it?
Either that or...
No, TNT Jackson, because Jackson.
I'm getting these fucking movies...
Stag Jackson, you're right.
Mixed up.
I'm getting it mixed up, because Stag Jackson was TNT Jackson's
In this, it's
brother.
Stud.
It's Stud.
And they just call him Stud.
Yeah, they don't call him anything else. So they cuff Stud and Larry together. Larry's the stowaway.
The Chinese guy.
Yeah. And, like, Larry and Stud...
they fight their way out of it.
They fight their way out of it and start running and get on the back of a truck.
Yeah.
And so the cops, like, rush to the car.
Yeah.
Get in and, like, realize the radio scanner has been disconnected. And
the car keys are gone. But after they get on that truck...
Not yet. This isn't that truck scene.
No, they do this. They do in this scene, too. It's not quite as blatant as the next one. But in this one, they, like, as they sit down, they both smile and... look at each other.
Oh no, you're right. Sorry, I was thinking you were thinking what happens in the next time they get on the truck with the truckers.
Oh, those dudes.
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So, before they get onto a truck, they kind of look at each other, like it's like a split second. I was like, what is going on here?
Lovey-dovey look, and we were both like,
I was
what?
like, is it that kind of okay? All right.
But then they get on the truck and they sit on the truck and like he kind of touches the guy's shoulder, like, yeah, man. And then like they look at each other like that.
Yeah. It's, okay, audience, fellow team counters, please, I implore you, get someone, a significant other, that looks at you the way that Stud looks at Larry, or that Larry looks at Stud.
The way these two look at each other is # relationship goals.
Exactly. It is like the most longingly look I've ever seen. I know it's supposed to be like creating like this friendship bond, but like it is so like homoerotic.
It comes out of they just barely met. They just got on this truck and they're just looking at each other like they are just two goddamn school kids in love.
And I swear to God, I saw like some of those scenes. I saw Larry like looking down.
Oh.
Like he wanted.
Oh.
Yeah. He wanted Stud.
Look, this movie's got layers.
Listen, Larry thought Stud was a straight stud.
He was the stud for him.
He was the stud for him.
This movie's got layers.
It does. This is progressive before they even knew it.
This is the best because it's accidentally
exactly
progressive.
That's the best part about it. Like they didn't mean to do that, but it comes off.
I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with those scenes because they were hilarious because they dwell on those looks.
They do.
Like,
they show them for like a good 15 seconds.
Like
sometimes.
Longer than you would if you were trying to make it look
like a buddy thing.
Yeah, but they just dwell on it and it's hilarious.
So then they're on the lam and it's adorable because they start like.
They jump off that pickup truck and they run into the woods and they're holding hands.
So normal buddy cop movies where they're like cuffed together, they don't hold hands. They're trying to get away from each other.
Well, because in normal buddy movies like this, which is funny because they don't even bother. Usually, what they do is they hate each other in the beginning
and try and get away from each other. Yeah, and
then they start to bond and etc. That's what almost every buddy movie does.
But this is instant.
Especially think of Rush Hour, right?
Yeah.
Because they whoever made that DVD wanted to compare it. You know, in movies like that where it's two people from different cultures, they hate each other in the beginning and then they like each other. In this, they don't
dilly-dally with that.
They are fuck that. They love each other.
They fucking love each other from the get-go.
They're
holding hands.
Running through the woods.
And then they go to the river and drink from it. And then they hold hands and go back
and they bond a little.
And they bond by how to hitchhike.
Oh, well before that, there's a quick scene where, because obviously when they were writing this, they're wait a minute, these guys have to actually, introduce themselves, right? So they're they sit down by this waterfall, and one of the guys is like, "Yeah, I'm from Hong Kong, and I'm looking for my brother." The other one's like, "Yeah, I was set up by the cops and all this stuff, and I have to meet up with someone." And they're like, "Okay, let's keep going."
So they hold hands.
They start hitchhiking.
Well, like, I love how, like, Larry's trying to hitchhike.
Oh, no, wait. Hitchhiking is later. So first they're looking for a way to get the cuffs off.
No. They still get, they don't
hitchhike. They get on the fucking...
No, they still hitchhike in the... Well, no, sorry. They don't hitchhike, but, like...
Yeah.
They wait for... So they're waiting for a truck to leave a gas station.
Yeah.
So they're still cuffed together.
Yeah.
The getting a cuff off is after this whole scene. So... They hop on the truck, which I guarantee is the same truck.
It looks like the same truck.
It looks exactly... Even the hay is stacked the same way just in the back of the truck.
They get on this other truck, and again, they sit down and give each other the look.
The longingly look, like the smolders.
The look registered trademark.
Mm-hmm.
And they fall asleep.
Dude, if I could copyright that image, I would just, like... Make a T-shirt with like them looking at longingly at each other, and
like
say,
a heart.
Just say, like, put it in a heart and say the look.
The look.
Get you someone who can look at you like they look.
Get you someone who gives you the look.
I have to put that on Facebook.
And they fall asleep. Adorable. And these two goons driving the truck.
I don't even know how they knew like that they were like. Okay, so they obviously knew someone was in the back of their truck. They never saw who got on the back of their truck, so how did they know,
I don't know.
To be super racist?
Well, first they're like, well, they won't survive in the sun. Well, they just fall asleep and they're fine. And then they pull over and they're like, we'll see what Johnny and the guys have. They'll have some fun with them. So they pick up these like fucking like rednecks, and they're just like, still sleeping, and the rednecks get on the truck and they start driving. And they just start picking on them. Like, you guys are a bunch of, like, felons on the run. And they start being racist and all this stuff. And then there is a fight. Yep. An awesome fight.
So they start beating up Stud, and Larry's having none of that, so he starts wailing on him. He throws one of them off the truck, which is hilarious because the guy kind of stumbles and then like walks off the truck.
To his credit, though, he did really walk off the truck.
Yep.
To his credit, so we do get like actual stunts. Shocking.
Then he kicks another guy off the truck,
and he like breaks through the wooden like barrier thing, and then falls onto someone's windshield.
Yeah. And then Stud gets one of them, and they, like...
Just knocks him out.
And then they look at each other again. This is, like, the 5th time they've shown the look. It's great. They love to emphasize this.
They love it.
Like, they don't do it in the later film, but, like, in the beginning...
This part is...
They fucking love showing the look.
Oh, my God. They're just obsessed.
So they look at each other and, like, kind of smile, and then they decide to, like, jump off the truck.
Yeah.
Together.
And hold hands.
Yep, and then they start running again.
Holding hands.
So now we get...
They find this like farmhouse and a barn, and they...
No, so first... Oh, sorry, I almost forgot. It shows the corrupt cop with his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick. It's like it's a stupid scene kind of setting up that he's like kind of having second thoughts.
Well, it sets up that like they live in like this fancy house,
and he has a much younger,
a very young wife, and it's kind of setting up that it's like he's corrupt, and all that money is paying for his
lush, like lavish lifestyle.
Yeah.
Okay, so now they go to a barn, and they're looking for weapons, and of course Stud.
Not weapons.
No, sorry, it's just something to get the handcuffs off. So while Larry's looking in the drawer for like tools to like get these handcuffs off, Stud sees a woman undressing in a window,
and just watches.
I think this made Larry jealous.
Well, Larry didn't know.
I know,
but I will. This is important though. The look he was giving the girl in the window was not as intense.
No,
as the look he was giving Larry.
I have a theory. The look he was giving the girl in the window was lust. The look he gives Larry, that's straight love, man. Okay? That is LOVE love. That is not lust, that is love.
Look, after everything they've been through together in this movie, that's love, man.
They held hands.
They beat up corrupt cops together. It's true love.
Dude, they're the Dynamite brothers, or the Dynamite lovers in this case.
That's the new title. Dynamite lovers.
That's the title of this episode. The Dynamite lovers.
So Larry finds something apparently. We don't actually see them getting the handcuffs off. But the next scene is them hitchhiking and they have their handcuffs off. And again, they're hitchhiking and they're like, nobody's stopping. And they're kind of looking at each other like all lovingly, like, oh, shucks. And then finally they kind of like stand there like smiling all cheesy, and then finally someone...
So the next thing we get is the mob. So I guess the mobsters found out who the Smiling Man was, because they had kind of mentioned a little bit of the Smiling Man, and this is where he gets tortured.
So the mobsters, yeah, they go to his like.
They find out.
Club.
Okay, so he's kind of like, he's not a rival dealer, but he's trying to thwart them. He doesn't want.
Well, no, specifically, he is like a rival criminal, whatever.
Yeah, but
the thing specifically with him is that he doesn't do dope.
He doesn't push he doesn't push dope. Yeah, he pushes everything else, just not dope.
Because he will. He will fight whoever sells drugs to the community.
Yes, he will.
The Black Dynamite. I sell drugs to the community.
So he's not getting tortured because they're like wanting to kill him.
My favorite is when they walk in and the guy in like the front is just like standing there and says something, and then one of them just fucking like karate chops his shoulder
just down,
and he just knocks him the hell out.
Mm-hmm.
But then yeah, they come up to him and they like smack his woman around, and they really love straight razors in this movie.
Yep, because they start like cutting like the Smiling Man's like chest, and then the Dynamite brothers show up
and beat the shit out of them.
Beat the living shit out of everyone there.
Everyone. And then they quickly hide.
Yeah, and then they hide in like a closet, and the corrupt cop shows up to talk to the Smiling Man.
And he sees like there's two people knocked the fuck out and talking
like,
to him.
He's like,
did
what
you do this?
Here? Yeah, well, did you do this? And the Smiling Man's like, yeah, I did. Like,
and he's not really believing it. He knows there's something going on. And eventually the Smiling Man is like, you should leave me basically tells him that he should leave him alone, or he'll tell like everyone about his all the corrupt stuff he's doing.
Yeah.
So he leaves him alone.
But
this is also when you find out that a large chunk of this movie is filmed on the Universal Studio set in Los Angeles. How do I know this? Because, well, number one, it looks nothing like a city street. But number two, I've been there.
Well, and there's no people anywhere except for shanties.
There's no anything.
Shanties is the name of the bar, by the way.
Yeah.
So
there's no people.
There's no storefronts.
There's no lights.
No.
No storefronts. Nothing that would indicate they're in a city. They just filmed it on like a corner of the Universal Studios lot.
Probably
which
the
is
cheapest
fucking
one.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of know why later, because they have to blow the living shit out of everything there.
It's true.
But still,
which is kind of an awesome.
It's just hilarious because they don't even make any attempt, other than Shanties, which has like the fake sign in front and everything.
So then we get a kind of a lame scene where they're all talking, and then like Stud starts like
hitting on this woman,
digging on a woman. And, like, notices she won't, like, answer him.
This scene was hilarious because we were watching it, and he keeps, like, flirting with her and saying things. And she just kind of either nods or smiles. And we're both just like, is she ever going to talk?
And then Miss Smiling Man explains that she's mute.
Yeah.
Another mute.
Hey.
Not a bad thing.
Look, this was significantly less embarrassing than the other mute.
More believable.
Despite the fact that there is a singing scene, which is absolute lunacy.
It's great.
I mean, it is great.
So now
he
Larry
goes on a date with her.
I thought this is where Larry goes to Fawn's restaurant.
That's after the date.
Okay, so they go on the date first.
So he goes on a date with her. Well, it's more like the after part of the date, I guess, because they're going home.
Oh, that's right. So they walk in the door. This is the musical number.
So I love when he walks in the door and he's like looking around and he looks at like this. There's like a plant hanging from like a. It's like suspended from the ceiling, and he's like looking at it. It's like, yeah, I had one of these once, and I'm just like, a plant.
She signals if he wants a drink. He gets a beer. She gets wine. They sit down. They start talking.
He starts explaining to her that like he was in Folsom Prison for like cops set him up. They talk,
and then he's like, yeah, Sarah and Stud.
Because I was like, what? He's like, your name's Sarah, right? And then he's I'm not even gonna do it.
I'll do it. Don't worry.
I'm sorry, Will.
So he kind of sings.
Will's about to degrade himself.
Sarah and Stud, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? So he's like, then he like kind of thinks about it, and he's like, nah. How does it go? Oh, crap. It's like
Stud and Sarah.
Stud and Sarah.
Sarah and Stud.
Stud and Sarah. Sarah and Stud. Stud and Sarah. Sarah and Stud.
And they're both like...
And they're like both like jumping up and down on the bed, like on the sofa, and just like she's like patting her thighs and stuff, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now?
Why? I'm just like... I almost wanted to know if that was in the script. Or if they just told them to like do something.
They're like, just improvise. And
improvise.
He's like, Stud and Sarah, Sarah and Stud, Stud and Sarah. Is like, Stud and Sarah.
Look, they looked very into it.
Yeah, they really did.
They looked way more into it than humanly possible.
It's fucking weird.
But they finish singing, and eventually he they kiss. Date ends, and then Larry is looking.
Yeah, he goes.
Okay, so the woman who picked them up earlier.
Yeah,
they were hitchhiking.
She said, "If you ever need my help, go to Fawn's restaurant because her name is Fawn."
Yeah, because he told her to like see if she can find out anything about his brother.
Yeah.
So he meets her at the restaurant, and they go like next door to Kung Fat.
Yeah, his name is Kung Fat. He's like one of the like henchmen bosses working for.
I'm not quite
the main
sure.
Guy? I don't know.
Well, I'm not quite sure like
what he does.
Yeah, because obviously
never really
like
explain anything.
Obviously that's not his quote unquote real job.
But I mean, he somehow works for the big boss.
He does work for the big boss.
Yeah.
Also, we forgot to mention the guy who plays the big boss in this movie, who we saw earlier, is the guy who played Tong Po in Big Trouble in Little China. James Hong is his name.
James Hong.
And he apparently has always been old. Because he literally looks just as fucking old in this as he does in Big Trouble in Little China.
He looks like very slightly younger. But not very much, because this is like... Big Trouble in Little China was like...
13 years?
Yeah, 13 years after, and he looks almost exactly the same.
I think he's just one of those actors who was always like he always looked old.
Always looked older.
But yeah, he's in this.
So they go to meet the boss, and the boss like sits down and is like,
"Are you sure?" He's
Are
like,
you sure?
It's a common name.
And then like Larry gives him a picture, and he's like, "I regret to inform you, your brother is dead." He tells the story about how he worked under him.
We get a narration as he's telling the story, and they're driving to a cemetery.
Yep, Larry's brother died working for that boss, and he was killed in a robbery.
Yeah.
That happened at that at whatever that place is.
At wherever he works.
So they go to his grave, and Larry is not satisfied.
Well, we get a flashback.
Yes.
We've had this flashback before. It's like this red tinted flashback of him holding some woman in his arms. And he's like touching the back of her head, and then there's blood on his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't tell you at first, but we immediately we were both like, it's his wife.
Yeah,
it's most likely his wife who died, and somehow this is connected. But he's not having it for some reason.
No.
I don't know quite why.
I don't either. There's no reason for him not to believe. I mean, it's not true, but there's no reason at this point to not believe him.
But I don't know if this is connected or if this is just something I'm looking into too much. But he was like looking at the grass. I don't know if like he thought the grass was like fake or something.
Or maybe he thought that his brother would be buried like in China.
But he's like, my brother's not buried here.
Yeah. So he
knows something.
So Larry's like, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna go back to that boss, and he's like, I know that my brother's not buried in that grave.
And then immediately two
gets
guys
held at gunpoint.
Who this is a trend with these two henchmen because they're just nobody ever hears them. They just run up on people.
Yeah.
So they run up on him.
And they make an appearance at almost every single interval, every fight.
Yeah.
In the rest of the
movie.
movie.
And no one hears them.
It's great.
But they hold him up, put him in the trunk of a car, and drive him out to the middle of nowhere.
You're about to get the best attempted like fucking death scene ever.
The scene is adorable. The scene is fucking adorable.
It is. It's ridiculous.
So they drive him out, and they're dragging him into like this like cliff area, and the boss is carrying a fucking like basket. And I'm just like, what the fuck is in the basket? And then they like awkwardly throw him down like a
they like
cave?
shove him into a rock formation, and then like he's in a cave all of a sudden. like they like maneuver his body like on this like rock.
It's like sideways, and they're like maneuvering him in there.
And then he's all of a sudden in a cave.
And the boss just takes out a snake. A toy snake.
Very carefully takes out a snake and just throws it in there with him.
It's supposed to be a rattlesnake.
This is hilarious because they never actually show, like, so they'll show like they showed Larry and the snake like twice.
So here's what happens before we go into this. Like Larry is like facing off with the rattlesnake,
and it's supposed to be this tense scene.
It's like nature footage.
Mm-hmm. It's not even the same like film quality almost.
It's like it's more grainy than the actual.
And it has a different like tint to it. It has a different lighting.
The ground looks different too.
Yeah.
But it's like this rattlesnake from like some nature documentary.
The best is when they show them together because the snake doesn't move at all because it's a fucking toy snake.
Oh god, there's like 2 or 3 seconds of them actually sharing the screen, and it's a non-moving snake. But it's just funny because like they keep like cutting back and forth, and they want us. They so much want us to believe
that a snake is in there with him.
That a snake is in this quote unquote cave with him.
So he finally like grabs it by the. This is the best because he grabs it by the neck. Finally, gets a hold on it, and then just throws it back up the cliff.
The only thing that would have made this scene better is if they were still up there.
Yeah.
And wrapped around one of them.
Or if he would have punched the snake in the face.
Hard target, baby.
Yeah, this would have been the inspiration for
this would have.
But so yeah, he just lobs it back up the cliff.
This scene is just adorable. They wanted so much us to believe that like he was really facing off against the snake.
Oh yeah.
But no. But it's fine because it only made the movie better.
And don't worry, we get the most balls out scene in the entire movie. Next scene.
Oh god.
So they're fed up with Mr. Smiley or whatever his name is, and so they order a hit on him.
Yeah.
So there's like a person driving down the quote unquote ghetto,
the city street.
Yes, even though there's literally one building
that has any
advertisements or anything,
lights or anything.
So they light a stick of dynamite and throw it into shanties.
They do a drive-by bombing.
Yes.
And after they do that,
it is all out. So they get back. So everyone in Shanty is fine for some reason.
Well, they're fine, and then Smiley goes into this closet and gets out the guns.
And it is all out fucking war in the quote unquote ghetto.
Like massive gunfight, and this the guys in the car just keep circling back and forth.
Yep, and all these goons come out of nowhere and start shooting up everything, and it's 12 people on 12 people.
Yeah, It does have your favorite death, though.
So they're firing, and like some guy like takes aim up high.
He's on like a fire escape.
He's on a fire escape, and he's ah, and then finally falls and screams while he's falling. He screams for like a good like 10 seconds. I'm like,
before he falls.
Oh my god, that is brilliant.
He wanted his moment.
He didn't just want like a little bit of screen time. He wanted as much. He milked that shit for all it was.
He wanted his fucking moment. And eventually the car, like, they shoot it up. And it flips over and explodes. And it's like a completely different, abandoned studio street. It's fine, who cares?
It flips over and explodes and all this shit. And so...
the cops show up, finally. The scene is like 4 or 5 minutes long, by the way. Of just insanity. Absolute insanity, like windows blowing up and all this shit, and eventually the cops finally show up, and he just looks around like, oh, well, that escalated quickly.
So, now we get a scene of them taking, so we're back at the Big Boss's headquarters.
Yeah, Tong Po.
And he is not happy with the guy who tried to kill
he's talking
kill Larry with the snake.
To the cop. And the cop he wants, like, he basically wants more money or more, like, say in what happens. Because he's like, you wouldn't have this operation if it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And I want to feel like more of a partner. And he kind of laughs it off and is like, we'll talk about this later. And then he brings out Kung Fat. The guy who tried to kill Larry with a snake. And...
gives this...
brings out at first I didn't even see it.
Yeah, the needle.
Because it's so fucking tiny.
He gives this like speech about how acupuncture can be healing or it can be deadly.
Or it can be deadly.
And he just pokes it into the guy's neck and the guy's dead.
Dead.
Acupunctured to death.
With the world's smallest needle.
Probably the lamest hit in any like gangster film I've ever seen.
Well, Will, it's certainly original.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
And I am...
I don't think I ever will.
Yeah, I was going to say, bold statement. I don't think you ever will again.
I won't see anyone acupuncture to death. That's like fucking like a Final Destination kind of thing where like a acupuncture goes horribly wrong.
Or like a fucking Kentucky Fried Movie.
Yeah.
Like a spoof. What was that thing in Kentucky Fried Movie? The martial arts movie spoof, remember?
Oh, God. Fistful of Yin.
Some shit?
Yeah.
That's like something from that.
Yeah, it's a Fistful of Yin. Take him to Detroit. No! Anything, no!
Acupuncture death, baby.
Yeah. Okay, so then the dirty cop is talking to his wife.
And he's having regrets. He's like, I could have been a good cop. I could have been this, but I wanted money. I wanted this, and I like...
He likes the job he's doing.
Yeah, that he likes the dirt and
he like doesn't
corruption.
think his like wife is gonna stick around. She says she's going to. It's not an important scene, really.
It is what it is.
So,
Larry goes to
Kung Fats again,
and
to confront him a third time.
He sees him. He's like, we know what's happening. But he's like in his chair and he's like facing backwards. He walks over and sees that he's dead. Then a guy busts into the room with a gun. Larry just jumps out the window.
Well, he kicks some ass first and then jumps out the window. Oh, no, sorry, no. He jumps out the window and then kicks some ass. That's right.
After he jumps out, like 50 people jump into frame.
Yep.
Which is a common thing in this movie because people don't walk into frame. They jump in.
And
like fighting stance.
It's time for Larry to kick some ass. So
and we get another awesome fight scene. I'm only being like slightly ironic. But my favorite part is the guy with the fucking nunchucks.
Yeah, because he's fucking he's going fucking ballistic with those goddamn nunchucks.
I don't think I've ever seen like anyone swinging nunchucks faster in a fucking movie. It's goddamn ridiculous. He's like this. Also,
I'm surprised he didn't take off. He was fucking swinging.
Whoever did the sound effects in this movie,
it needs to be fired.
Because we noticed earlier that the sound effects during the fight scenes are like fucking weird.
Yeah.
But by this scene, I was almost hesitant to say that I was enjoying the fucking insanity of it, because like I swear to God, there was like animal noises like mixed into the fucking.
Well, I kept mentioning every time they're wearing like flowery or stuff, whenever they punch, it sounds like a flock of doves going.
Flock of doves. Also, like I swear, like during this one, he was like punching the guy on the ground. They put in like a lion roaring or something.
They could have. I mean,
like they mixed it in with the sounds of him like, ugh, ugh. I don't know. It's insanity. But he beats the shit out of all of them, and we get this hilarious final shot where he just looks back, and there's just like 15 bodies just
strung out everywhere. It's fucking great. So then, Stud, excuse me.
So is this when he deduces
that she's like
quote unquote.
This is when they're laying in bed.
Oh yeah, right. And she gets out of bed and is putting on makeup. And then he tells her to get back in bed and is like, "You don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to do that.
I'm your man now.
You're Stud's girl now. I'll take care of you."
Apparently she's a prostitute. But, she was working for...
Smiley,
yeah.
Yeah. I guess, but before this scene, there was no indication. But whatever.
So now Larry and Stud pay the corrupt cop a visit and hold him at gunpoint. Sorry, you're right. Before this scene, we get
sitting in
Mr. Smiley deducing everything.
We're sitting in
shanties.
Shanties. I almost said shanks.
Shanks.
I don't know. Nobody calls a fucking bar shanties, okay?
It is when it's in a shanty town.
Apparently in this movie.
It's called shanty.
And there's no one ever in the bar.
There's stock maybe 6 of the same people every time.
It's the same people. They don't even drink.
No one drinks. There's not even a real bar. It's literally
we never actually see it.
It's you know why? Because it's on a fucking lot.
All you see is like a chalkboard
and a giant Coca-Cola sign.
Oh yeah, we see like a chalkboard that just says like drinks 35 cents. It's like that's how you know it's a bar, Will. There's no fucking actual content. It's great, but they're talking, and then he's going over what we know.
Well, I love how Study's even whoever did this, and then Mr. Smiley's it's connected. I deduced that
Here's what we know: they're trying to kill Larry. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that. I think it's all connected. I think you need to talk to that cop.
Yep. So they go over to the cop. And they hold him.
Who is laying on his couch,
about to have sex with his wife,
who is in a bikini.
No, she's in her underwear. Not a bikini.
She just walks out in her underwear.
So
of course,
they hold him at gunpoint. She's like, "Get out of my house!"
And he says something racist to the Chinese guy and gets punched in the gut and gives up the information.
Yep.
They're he tells him, "Go to the house at the top of this road." And at this moment, I mentioned to you, because there was 15 minutes left, that they are really rushing through this.
And they do.
Because guess what happens after they leave?
Immediately a guy shows up to kill the corrupt cop. And kills him and the wife.
And then calls the big bad, tells him that, I killed the cop, and the guys are coming. He's eliminate them.
Well, and then they go after Sarah.
Oh, yeah.
So while Larry's on his way to the headquarters, I can't remember where Stud was going, but he figures out that they have Sarah. So they
He was going to shanties.
Yeah, so he gets Mr. Smiley, and they are rushing over to Sarah's.
Yeah.
While she's getting tortured, he keeps trying to get information out of her, and
he doesn't realize that she's a mute.
Right. he just thinks she's not talking.
Which is like makes for a decent scene because it's like what's gonna happen.
And then it's still decent, but it's kind of weird. He starts like torturing her, but he goes overboard and like just starts like cutting into her face.
I'm guessing he's just getting like
angry
because she's not talking,
right?
Because he keeps telling her like you like tell me why aren't, and she's like she's crying but she can't tell him. So he basically cuts the shit out of her face, and she's dead.
And finally, Stud and Mr. Smiley get there too late, and she's dead. So he's pissed. Everyone's pissed. Everyone's lost somebody. Making up for a big fight scene.
The greatest.
Yes. So
this is the ending to this is very Al Adamson. I'll just put it this way.
It is. Like, I don't know how Stud got to where he is next, but, like...
Who gives a shit?
So the motorcycle guy is, like, escaping to the headquarters.
Yeah.
And out of fucking nowhere, Stud comes out with a fucking shotgun.
And the motorcycle guy gets off, and he's like, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to.
Like, I just went overboard, man.
And he shoots him with a shotgun, like, 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, while he's dead on the ground, and the guy's still not dead. He's like,
it's like slow motion. He's falling, he's shooting, and Larry gets up to the big bad.
Yep, he infiltrates the castle, gets to the big bad because the big bad will let him in to talk to him.
So he gets surrounded,
and
the big bad is like, leave him alone, let him talk. And this is...
I actually wasn't expecting this.
I wasn't either, but then again, how could you?
You couldn't. They didn't give any idea to it.
Which...
You just thought this guy killed his brother.
That's what we thought first. That he killed his brother and maybe killed his wife.
Yes.
Well, one of those is true. So, immediately, like, he's kind of sitting with his back to him. So he's like, I want to know where my brother is. And he just says, you found him.
And he says, like, what, don't you recognize me after all these years?
And I was just like, what the fuck?
It's his fucking brother.
It's his fucking brother. And they start talking, and eventually we see the full flashback that the brother was, like...
in love with his brother's wife.
Yeah.
And in love with Larry's wife.
And he was trying to, like, get with her, and it got aggressive.
She, like, rejected him, and so he pushed her off a ladder.
And she, like, fell and hit her head.
On a rock or something. It's too red to see what she hits her head on, but she hits her head on something.
Look, all I have to say about the red filter on this scene is Al Adamson shenanigans.
Yes.
That's all it is. Because how else would you know it's a flashback, Will, if you didn't have a color filter?
So he admits to killing his wife because it was, like, a crime of passion.
And he's, like, saying that, like, I've come to America now, and you can become anything you want here. I've become rich beyond my wildest dreams, and I want you to join me.
He's like, this is paradise. Please join me in my venture and stuff.
And he's like, no.
Larry's like, fuck no. Fuck that shit.
And immediately he's like, kill him.
So, like, Larry starts kicking ass, and, like 15 other guys, like, show up out of nowhere.
Again, like, pretty well filmed. And it has the craziest moment, though, is when he, like vaults over somebody and scalps him
with his bare hands. Now
and then he's like doing like the the usual like waving his hands around.
Yeah.
And he still has like the fucking
like hair and
blood on his fist.
And so every other guy is like, nah, fuck that. So they start running away.
They run the fuck away.
But then we get the most baller fucking, like, Al Adamson loves these big ass fight scenes.
It's very, because there was, Angel's Wild Women ended the same way.
Yes, exactly the same way, actually.
Because, like, in Angel's Wild Women, all the bikers fight, while the main bad guy, like, drives off and is chased by one of the main characters.
One of the protagonists, yes.
Same thing happens here. Smiley and his people all show up.
And they start kicking ass, taking names.
There's
beating the
just
shit out of each
people
other,
fighting,
kicking people off of fucking the top of the roof, like
people fighting everywhere.
People fighting with staves, fucking like nunchucks everywhere.
Yeah,
just it's insane.
It's awesome. It's fucking awesome. And the big bad takes off in a car, and Larry
runs after him
on a motorcycle.
So Larry runs after him at first, and then finds the motorcycle.
This familiar to you?
Yep. And then starts the car like Angels Wild Women.
Well, thank
Christ it's not like that car.
Well, thank Christ that this is significantly more competent. It's still absolute Al Adamson trademark insanity.
Yeah, because they're just swerving on a road, and it keeps changing scenery.
But eventually, he
gets into the car.
He jumps off his bike.
So
into
Larry
the car.
gets into the big bad's car.
They start fighting, and he starts like swerving. And then it shows us that there is a cliff coming up.
And so, like, Larry sees it, and he, like, swerves it into the cliff and then jumps out of the car at the last second.
And the big bad goes fucking bye-bye.
And it's actually a pretty... I don't know, they got a pretty good roll on that.
They did.
They didn't explode it at the end, which made me angry, because, I mean...
Because you got used to that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm used to a car exploding at the end of a large...
The other two Al Adamson movies also had cars rolling off cliffs and exploding.
At the end.
But in this, it's... Well, first of all, it's way better filmed, because in the other two, it was so fucking incoherent.
Yeah, right?
That you could barely see it, like, rolling down the hill. Whereas in this, you actually see, like... It like drives off,
flipping over. Like parts start flying off of it. It's all in slow mo.
You can see like the dummy in the car, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
Dummy shots in movies, I live for that shit. You see that, and then it's all good.
Yep. And then so they're back at Shanties,
and they're like, "You guys gotta go. The fuzz will be here any minute."
And then you hear sirens, and Larry and Stud give each other that look one last time.
And they take off running.
And still frame the end.
The end.
This...
I love this movie.
I will say it. I fucking enjoyed the hell out of this movie.
I don't know if, like, I'm just starved.
for better movies.
Because I fucking enjoyed the hell out of this nonsense.
I loved it.
You know why? Because it knows. It just knows.
I think Al Adamson knows how ridiculous his movies are, and he just fucking runs with it.
Well, that and...
He's like... But he's still trying to make a serious movie, which is kind of weird, because so he's like... He's trying to make a competent movie, but he also understands ridiculousness.
It's... I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking when they were making this. But it's... Here's the thing. It's not... It's serious, but at the same time, it's got its tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
Enough. And...
We didn't even have to check the time. I didn't want to. I was like, okay. I was enjoying the ride.
It's an hour and 30 minutes. It goes by pretty goddamn quickly.
Yeah, it's weird to say this after a while, like, because I haven't been able to say this in a while. I would recommend this movie.
Yeah, I don't even... It's certainly better with, like, friends and beer, but...
Yeah, you can watch it by yourself. I would probably watch it by myself.
I could watch this by myself.
I could.
I mean, it...
Dude, it reminds me of all those, like, crappy, like, kung fu movies I love so much. Like, The Flying Guillotine.
Yeah.
And, like, all those just ridiculous old, like, martial arts films.
And mix that with good blaxploitation.
Yeah, it's weird.
Because you got, like... We've mentioned we've had other movies on here that are also blaxploitation, but they just... It's, like, surface level.
Yeah.
This, like, actually has those things. You have the asshole cops. You have, like, the flamboyant characters and, like, the funky music. It's there.
And I would say that was my final thought. It struck a good chord with me. Like, it was entertaining. It didn't take itself too seriously, like, trying to be, like, a super competent movie.
Yeah.
It was just fun. Like, it's just a fun, like, little kung fu movie that also happens to be peppered in with some blaxploitation. And I loved it. I thought it was good. I thought the acting, it's still bad, but it was better than a lot of the shit we've seen on this podcast.
It's bad, but it's not...
It's not unwatchable.
It's... I don't know.
It's like...
You know what there is, Will? There is craft in bad acting. Because we all know that there are these B movies that the acting isn't going to win awards, but it's enjoyable. And then there's those movies where the acting is so bad that you're just fucking, like, dying.
Mm-hmm.
You want to die.
Yeah, exactly.
We've had those. And then there's this. The little movie that could.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's kind of a diamond in the rough moment for me because, like, and again, I don't know if it's, like, because I'm starved for good movies, but, like, I don't know. Like, it just reminded me of all those, like, crappy kung fu movies that I still do love.
And it's enjoyably low budget.
So would that be your final, like,
Yeah.
thoughts?
Watch it.
Yeah, I would recommend this. Like, you can watch it. I would recommend watching it with friends and maybe a couple beers. But you can watch it by yourself. Like, I mean, whatever you do, you can watch, like, 44 minutes of the YouTube one before it starts freezing.
Oh.
We gotta warn people about this.
Yes, you do.
So, 44 minutes into the YouTube version, it starts, like, glitching out and, like, you know, getting all, like, weird. It, like, starts...
We thought we could make it.
Yeah.
Because it fixed itself, and then, like, 4 minutes later, it glitched again.
So I don't even know where we found the other, like, video, but...
Daily Motion.
Yeah, if you look on Google, you can find it.
Is a actual, like, working copy on Daily Motion. Yeah. But if you look at it through Google, you'll find this movie.
Just make sure on Daily Motion you have ad block because the ads, like, play every 6 minutes.
It gets a little ridiculous.
A little?
Very.
I had to, like, stop the movie to download ad blocker just stop this.
Because
ridiculous.
It was, like, the last 30 minutes, and every, like, 4 minutes was just being, like... Because you're getting into it, right?
Yeah.
You're getting into it, and then... Boom!
Bam! Ad. Sometimes 2 ads.
Well, I swear they were having more ads as we went along.
Yeah.
Because one of them was, like, a minute long, and it was, like, you know, skip in 20 seconds, and I'm like, what? Excuse me? Bullshit.
So yeah, please go find a copy of this movie. Watch it. If you love, like, just kind of crappy kung fu movies, please, I implore you, watch this.
If you want just a good time,
just watch it.
If you want to have fun,
yeah.
Have you not had fun in a while?
Just
watch this movie.
Just turn your brain off and enjoy the movie for what it is.
It's
like I don't know. Like I really liked it. I actually might buy this one. I liked it so much.
It's fun.
It's a fun movie.
I don't get why this is the lowest rated out of these fucking...
Because I didn't have fun with the other two.
I had some fun with them, but they're just...
I don't know. They were just kind of too stupid.
Well, I mean, the last one for you, I know what the problem was. It was boring.
Yeah.
And the plot
it shouldn't have been boring.
And the plot was needlessly convoluted.
Yeah.
This is just simple.
I love it.
It's just some dude flooding the ghetto with drugs.
And like 2 guys that want revenge.
That's it.
That's it. It's simple. I like it. That's all you need in a kung fu movie. Just revenge. That's all about, like...
Nobody watches these movies for the plot.
It's like 90% of kung fu movies is because they want revenge. And it's great. It works.
Nobody watches these things for the plot. Nobody.
So thank you, Al Adamson. This is your best film yet.
Everyone who was involved in this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You saved us.
This podcast has new life because of you.
Because I finally remember what it is like to feel alive.
Oh my god. And again, another thank you. Thank everyone for listening.
Yep.
Thank everyone for following.
We did get a new follower.
Yeah. You guys are you guys are awesome. I'm on Facebook all the time, so if you want to talk, let me know.
You should all watch this movie.
Yes, please watch this movie. We can discuss crappy kung fu movies if you want on Facebook too. I'm always on there, so And this is Will, because, like, I'm the social media guy, I guess. So, yeah,
I may or may not log into the account.
Yeah.
And shitpost.
You can.
You know. You won't know, though.
Don't worry.
You'll never know.
I'll be shitposting a little bit this week, so.
You'll never know who it is, though. Because it's just, the page talking. So you won't know who it is.
And you're going to make them think it's
a mystery.
You bastard.
I'll get them going. And then I'll drop some crazy shit on them.
Okay.
They'll be like, whoa, what the fuck?
You're like, oh, this is Will. What the fuck?
Will, what the fuck? What happened to Will?
It was so wholesome when it was Will.
This shit just got dark.
Wow, this podcast is not what I thought it was.
But it is almost October, and that is very fitting. You know why?
Because all we have is horror movies.
Exactly.
Now? Dude, I am so ready for some good spooky movies. I don't think they're going to be good.
Well,
but I was
going to say, when you say good, that requires like a billion quotation marks on it.
Because these are not going to be good. Some of them might be.
I mean, look.
I'm keeping my hopes up.
We'll see. If Al Adamson can do it, someone else.
These other directors have to.
Someone has to fucking do it.
One of these movies has to be enjoyable, so at least we have that.
It can't be as bad as House of Seven Corpses.
What was it, the Dollhouse or whatever?
No, Dollhouse was action movie. What are you thinking of?
So it was called like Human Dolls, wasn't it? The House of Seven Corpses, wasn't that What was the one where the kids were killing everyone?
Oh God!
Yeah,
Devil Times 5.
Yes, that one. It's not gonna be that one.
That was a masterpiece.
No, it wasn't.
At the greatest death scene.
God, if the viewers could see your fucking face, they know you'd be lying.
If the viewers could see what I've seen. If they could see the 5-minute death scene.
Maybe they have. There has to be some poor...
No.
There has to be some poor
bastard. If they did, they'd unfollow.
There has to be some poor bastard that's been on here and is like, I'm gonna go watch that movie. Click, clack, clack, and then like, oh no!
Don't say we didn't warn you.
Exactly.
Look, we timed it.
5 minutes.
But enough about that shit.
Yeah, anyway. Thank you guys so much for listening. Man, I'm having an awesome time with this. So,
and it's gonna get spooky. Yes,
I can't wait. For They Mostly Come Out at Night, this has been Will.
And this has been Alex.
And we will talk to you all later. Hi-yo! Everybody was kung fu fighting. Huh!